Ooh, that sun bright. I should have brought my sunglasses. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is early. It is early. Welcome to Woo Woo Wednesday here on Stand Yourself with me, Nicole Michelle. Today is probably going to be a doozy. I don't feel like I've been dipping my toe in the woo as much as I would like to, so I took some time last night to dive deeper into, I don't want to call it mundane because my vulnerable AF Friday was not mundane at all, and we got big hair today because I fell asleep. I took a shower before bed, and I'm one of those wash and wear, and so we just gonna be, it's still waking up. Okay, I haven't been awake that long. It takes my hair a little longer to wake up sometimes. Bro, can we go? I got places to be. Okay. So anyway, I feel like, I've been reflecting on personally, right? I did my vulnerable AF Friday. I talked about going no contact with your parents, not advising it for other people, just speaking about my personal experience with it. And it ended up being a 3-part video because I didn't have a stand, which I have now resolved. And I think it might be a better stand. I think we're going to see a lot less shake. So I'm excited for that. But I had to, I've been doing some reflection. I didn't have to, I've been doing. Because that's how, to my understanding, I don't even know if I can say my generation, because I don't know if it really is my whole generation. Because there was a part of me in the past that didn't really do reflecting, because I was so wounded I couldn't reflect. I was so wounded I couldn't have accountability for myself because I was the victim. And then I had like the come to Jesus awakening, come to Jesus moment with myself, where I sat down and I questioned everything I thought I knew. I questioned the things that people had said about me, and I'm like, okay, well, this person said it, and this person said it, and this person said it, and they don't even know each other. So now I need to be willing to be open to consider if there's truth here. And so that's kind of how all that started for me, like deeper reflecting, and basically my way of like coming correct, right? So I've been thinking a lot about my videos that I posted last Friday, and I rewatched them yesterday, because I'm worried, like, was I too harsh? Was I too whatever? Was I, am I, it's not about giving the right message. Like, Vulnerable Friday really is just about me opening up about whatever it is that I'm going through, whatever it is I'm experiencing on my healing journey. You know what I mean? It's not really to tell anybody what to do with their life. It's to say, hey, this is what I'm going through on my healing journey. And it's a common occurring theme that keeps popping up for me. And like I said, I had done a video about it on Facebook, but I'm sure by now it's been deleted because it was over a month ago that I did this video. And so I thought, it must be time for me to make that video here. And I don't think that I was cruel or unkind. I think it might unsettle some people, some of the honesty that I did give about some of my personal experiences growing up. Probably should have put a trigger warning on some of that, because I talked about some ways that I was treated and some things that happened to me. But I was thinking more and more, like, there has to be some woo to this, right? There has to be something woo-woo to this. And I've come to realize that when I talk about woo, I'm really just talking about spiritual. And I'm not trying to say that spiritual is woo-woo, but a lot of people feel that way. A lot of people are like, oh, that's woo-woo or whatever, right? And I'm always just trying to, for myself, see how these things overlap. You know what I mean? Because nothing, in my opinion, in this life is as mundane as it seems, as pointless as it seems. I very much believe that there is something behind symbolism, or else why would we why would we use it so heavily? There's a train. Oh, it just ended. Okay. The arms went down for the track, and I'm like, dang it, I gotta turn around now. I'm already gonna be skirting to work. Like I gotta move on. So that's kind of my thing. Like I'm always trying to find where they overlap. It's funny, as I'm coming over here talking about woo-woo, there's a Masonic lodge near here where I'm about to be driving by. And you know, all that stuff I don't understand, all of that kind of stuff. I think all of that is woo-woo too. I do know that they, speaking of symbolism, right? I do know that they do like rituals and they do whatever. And from what I have learned and gleaned in my own truth searching, truth hunting measures, are that people like that, like they do like ritualistic killings, but they don't even actually really kill somebody. They just like act it out, which I think is kind of interesting. So again, like symbolism has meaning, or why would we use symbolism so much? You know what I mean? And so I've just been thinking about all this. I hope I have time to get everything out that I want to get out. So I was thinking about all this stuff, you know, and questioning my video and questioning, you know, like, is that even the important part? You know what I mean? Or is that just a distraction, right? Is the whole conversation of aging parents, give me a sec here, is the whole conversation of aging parents important? Does it matter? Or is it a distraction? I had to put it in sport mode so I can get out in front of some of these people. And I'm not going to say that it's not important, because as we're talking about woo-woo, and the woo is spiritual, that means we're talking about the soul. You know what I mean? And the soul is a very important, I don't even know what to call it. I guess it's an important piece of the puzzle, we could say. And you know, I was trying to kind of figure things out a little bit, and I kind of came up with, you know, through my questioning and sort of searching, I came sort of to the conclusion that I have the right to defend myself, right? Or to defend an action that has since caused a trend of elderly parents being upset that their children don't want anything to do with them. And I feel, as a person who has experience in that I should be a voice for that. But my voice is not just saying I'm justified. You know what I mean? I'm justified in my choice, which I shouldn't even have to justify or explain, honestly. But because I know I'm here sort of to lead, like I have a hard time taking that title, like leader, or, you know, what I would consider myself more of a shower. Like, you know, like I don't want to take any authority or necessarily accountability. I'm not here to be a guru. I'm not here for any of that. I'm just here to try to speak honestly, try to stir some things up in others. And I came to the realization last night that I chose my parents. I believe firmly, and it took me a while. I've talked about this before. I've touched on this on another woo-woo. I'm sure I've touched on another Vulnerable AF Friday, but I'm going to get into it a little more now. I firmly believe that we choose our parents and our parents choose us, because we're a soul, right? We're a soul without a vessel. And we're only this when we are born and have a vessel. So I don't know, there's realms out there. Like, this is all stuff I'm still learning about. This is all still stuff that I myself am like delving into. So don't come for me if I don't use the right terminology. Don't come for me if I'm sort of missing the mark. I'm just speaking openly. Like, consider this like a conversation with a friend. This is not some expert showing up. This is not just consider this like a conversation with a friend, okay? And, sorry, I gotta focus. out here in these streets. So I came to the realization, and I've kind of, like, when this was first brought to my attention, the idea that we choose our parents and that we choose all of our life experiences before we come here, I had a hard time believing or accepting that. I very much initially felt a rejection, a push, a kind of, I don't know about that. That makes me feel uncomfortable to think that I would choose all of that. You know what I mean? But as time went on and I reflected on it, I was kind of like, okay, I could see where maybe that's true, because I wouldn't be me without those experiences. I wouldn't have the experience without those people. And I wouldn't be able to do my mission, because I think everybody comes here with a mission. I think all souls incarnate in a vessel for a mission, for a purpose. You know, and maybe for some people that purpose and mission is just to come here and live a life and not make waves and not whatever. But I know this time around that my mission is very much to shake shit up, to make people think, to make people question, you know, to encourage people to heal. Okay, so that being said, picking my parents means I have a soul contract with them. And I think part of my soul contract with my parents was to force me into an awakening. Because in my Vulnerable AF Friday video last Friday, I was talking about how I don't understand their surprise that I'm out here willing to be self-sufficient when that's what they forced me into. You know what I mean? They chose distance and not being present, and they chose harm over nurture, right? Doing the bare minimum doesn't make you a good parent. I'm sorry, it doesn't. And so because of all of that, I was sort of forced into isolation. I was forced into deep reflection. I was forced into having these experiences that in time were going to force an awakening, which it did. And I think without, because I was asking about, I'm like, why would I have a soul contract with these people? And I think it goes even deeper, you know what I mean? Because trauma can be generational. It can be passed down. It can be passed down genetically. It can be passed down by the environments you grow up in. All those things can continue to cycle, right? I feel very strongly I came here to be what's referred to as a cycle breaker, not to create buzzwords, or I'm sure like cycle breaker is going to be a fucking buzzword now because I fucking said it. Like I'm just saying, like, all these things where people as others like myself are trying to understand their purpose here and figure out what is what really and truly, and tune in more to themselves and less to the outside world and all of the constant bullshit we're continually fed that bears really no weight, truth, whatever. We turn more inward. And so I'm like, well, why would my soul choose this? Why would my soul like if it's so different? Like, how can I know that this was a contract that I created with them and come here and remember and realize that, but then what happens when I still have the feelings, right? And the truth is that the soul, to my understanding, okay, I'm not here to be an expert, I'm as a friend, I'm speaking, I'm having the kind of, this is like the spiritual conspiracy theory type, okay? This is just, I'm not saying it's fact, I'm saying, does this ring true for anybody else? Or if you have more knowledge of this, please feel free to hop in the comments and enlighten me. So it's like, well, why would my soul choose so much pain? And it comes down to, a lot of times pain is the only thing that'll wake us up. It's kind of like the rock bottom, right? Like, people go through life, and you watch people with addiction or whatever, and you just think, are people who just can't seem to get their life together, and you just think, like, when are they going to realize that this is not the way? When are they going to realize that they need to choose differently? You know, and a lot of times that doesn't happen unless and until there is some kind of rock bottom. And so for me, my rock bottom started early in life, and the soul doesn't know really what the body is going to go through. The soul just knows, I want to grow, I want to expand, I want to heal karmic loops, I want to break contracts, I want to clear the slate, you know what I mean? And this is how I'm going to do it. And then the soul embodies a vessel, aka Nicole Michelle in this instance, and Nicole Michelle is like, this shit sucks. Like, this shit sucks, okay? This is not how I wanted to wake up. This is not how I wanted to come to my purpose. But at the same time, even though it still hurts, and even though I have this greater understanding that this hurt was meant to awaken me, this hurt was meant to give my soul the lessons, the experiences, and break cycles that are needed, you know? And so I thought about that a lot yesterday before bed. And I thought about, you know, what does this mean, you know, when it comes to, like, me going no contact? Like, is that problematic? And I think that going no contact is me coming to the conclusion of the contract. I've learned what I needed to learn from that, or I am learning what I need to learn from that. And it's okay if that's where vessel me feels I need to be. Because also going through stuff like that, like the trauma and stuff, can fracture and fragment your soul. Not that your soul's not always whole, but it's like you lose pieces of you. And until you find those pieces again and you remember who you really are, you know what I mean? Your soul's always going to be kind of searching until you have that moment of reclaiming who you really are. And there's somewhere else I was going to go with that. I'm trying to recall. I'm distracted by this truck. I can just keep looking at this bike. I don't know why. Look. So I thought a lot about this last night, and there was somewhere else I was going to go with this, and now my brain has lost it. Soul contracts, fragmented souls. So like sort of the soul reclamation. There's something else I was going to talk about. Now I can't remember what the fuck it was. I don't remember now. So I mean, we're just gonna talk and we're gonna let it come back, because that's how it always works. So I mean, I can feel bad about it. I can have my feelings, and I keep getting distracted. There's a license plate in front of me, and it's got a fossil, like a T-Rex fossil, and their plate number is RAAR, R-A-A-A-R. So yeah, I think that it can be both things. Like, I think that your soul can go on an assignment that it doesn't really realize, you know, it's kind of like if you think about like a military person, right? You join the army or whatever branch of the military, and you sign up to go on a mission, but you don't really know what that mission's going to be until you're like boots on ground and the mission is playing out, and you don't know how long the mission's going to be. You don't know at what point you might become compromised on this mission. You don't know at what point, you know, the mission's going to reach completion. And I just find it very interesting. And I think part of it is having these two truths of my soul didn't understand what it was asking me to go through, and honoring, here we go, honoring the life that I have, honoring the experiences in this vessel that I have. And this is something else that was coming up for me last night. Just a bunch of stuff I was like, you know, trying to process through things. And on my Vulnerable AF Friday was very much set into motion by me going across these reels, like on Instagram, or mostly Instagram, honestly, about, you know, the sort of struggle, I guess, between adult children and their parents and whatever. And I remember there was this one person who made some comments, which I just kind of ignored in the moment. Like, I didn't respond to it. I just kind of kept scrolling. And because I know better than to argue with certain people, you know, like there was a time where I was like full-on atheist, and I would get into stupid online arguments, stupid fucking online arguments, with religious people trying to challenge their beliefs, which is really fucking stupid. It's not something I'm proud of, or it's so like when I see stuff like that, because I've been there, done that, like I don't need to engage in it at all. I already know I don't need to engage in it. And I already know there's no point in me trying to sway somebody. Like, there's no point. They're going to believe what they believe, regardless of what I think, feel, or believe that I know, or anything like that. Might have been a mistake. We'll see. But this woman had made a post about, I don't remember it word for word, but it basically was, honor your mother and father. You should honor your mother and father. And as a person who grew up in a very abusive household, that was also a religious household, that probably plays into why I didn't respond to that woman at that time. People on my last nerve right now. And I had to reflect on that, because I'm like, well, you know, as I'm going through my own journey, right? Like, there was a time where I had no hope and no faith. Like, I was literally, I don't want to say like morally bankrupt, because I still had morals, but I was kind of like spiritually bankrupt, right? Like, there didn't seem to be any purpose. There didn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to life. There didn't, when I was deeply in the victim role, and I hadn't really done any kind of, I don't know. Sometimes I say I've always been trying to heal, but like always trying to heal and actually healing are not entirely the same. And I think that's okay. I think part of why I kind of dance around that a little bit is because it feels like it's not okay that I haven't always been trying to heal. But I think it's more important that you start versus when you start. It's important that I started, not when I started. And there was a time where, like I said, I had no hope, I had no faith. I could not for the life of me figure out this life. I didn't understand. Like, everything felt hard and difficult for me. And I was going somewhere with this that has to do with honoring your mother and father, and now I've lost the plot once again. But when I read that comment, you know what I mean, it hit, it landed, it stayed with me. And a few days later, here I was reflecting on it, and I remember feeling initially that honoring your mother and father is not being like blindly obedient. Do you know what I mean? A lot of religious people, especially those who don't want to own what they do, you know what I mean? It's kind of like they use it as a get out of jail free pass. Like, well, yeah, I fucked up, but you're supposed to honor your father and mother no matter what, and blah, blah, blah. But honor, what does that really mean, right? What does that really mean? Because I think it says honor, not blindly obey, not blindly be obedient. And I think me choosing myself and the life they've given me is honoring them. And I don't think anybody's going to be able to sway me on that. I'm pretty firm on that conclusion that honor does not equate to blind obedience and, you know, not holding people accountable and not choosing yourself when you're put in a situation where you don't feel safe. You know, whether that's emotionally, physically, mentally, whatever the case may be. And so, you know, I honor them by honoring this life and trying to live it fully and doing my work to heal. Because without them, my soul would have had nowhere to go, right? Like, without them, it would be somebody else in this meat suit, right? Like, it'd be some other soul in this meat suit. But whether they wanted me or not, here I am. And whether I at one point wanted this or not, here I am. And now I'm glad that I have found faith again. I have found hope again. And it's ironic, the timing that I come to this, because day in and day out I see so many instances where I'm like, how do I even have faith and hope in this world anymore? But I do, you know what I mean? Because I know, as much as the bad is portrayed, as much as aging parents are on this trend of my adult child wants nothing to do with me and they're selfish, there's so much good beneath that. And if we could just get to a point where we're able to own the roles that we played in other people's lives, you know, I just think about the positive changes that could happen. And that's something that I wish for, honestly, because I think a lot of the older generations, they just don't really have it in them to reflect honestly about life, for whatever reason. You know what I mean? I do know from my own personal experience that trauma can affect your memory. So if they've gone through anything traumatic, which I don't know about my dad, because everything I've heard is like he was like the golden child, firstborn son, could do no wrong, never got really punished, right? So like, I don't know where he got all of what he is. I don't know where that came from. And there was a point in my healing journey early on where I was like, well, he does that to me because obviously that's how he was treated. Because it was the only thing that made sense to me, and it was the only way that I could move forward. I had to like try to humanize him. And I do try to humanize my parents, and I do try to hold space for them in that way. But I can hold space for you and not share space with you. Do you know what I mean? But then I found out like that wasn't the case, and like I had a really hard time with that. Because then it's like, well, why would he do the things he did? Why would he be the way he was? You know what I mean? And perhaps that's his karmic debt and his karmic loops that he's unable to learn and heal from. And I'm just grateful that I am able to have these reflections and these kind of deeper conversations with myself, you know what I mean? And not just chalking everything up to religion, or chalking everything up to, you know, indoctrination, or chalking everything up to the status quo. Like, when something doesn't feel right, I'm like, no, this doesn't feel right, and I'm not willing to be a contributing participant. Like, I'm not interested in those things, right? So that was what I wanted to talk about today with Woo Woo Wednesday. And that's the thing, like, I just want to show how the woo is not really so woo. Like, I know it sounds woo and crazy, but what other explanation could there be for trauma and pain. You know, it's for the soul's evolution, as wild and whack as that sounds. You know, and I wondered, like, well, can't the soul evolve in whatever, in other ways? Like, does it have to be pain? And again, it's the rock bottom. It's when nothing else has worked to wake you up and bring you back to remembrance of who you are, why you're here, really. Not what everybody's told you, not what people have shoved down your throat, not what they put on the media and social media, right? But beneath that, deeper than that, and on a soul level. And the soul is the most important thing in this world. Like, the more that I heal, the more that I journey, the more that I question, the more I find how important the soul is. And that's what is probably the highest going, like, commodity. Like, they use and abuse people and children, but it's not for the vessel. That it's for the vessel carrying the soul. It's for the soul. Like, they're after, they want to leech that shit. Whoever the they is, whoever the powers that be, and those that want to control and take advantage and try to run the world, like whoever those secret societies and entities and whatever, you know. And I do think there are things that are real that we've been told aren't real. I think there are things that are real that we've been told are myth. You know what I mean? I almost feel like anything that we've learned about, whether that's giants, unicorns, mermaids, all that other stuff, you know what I mean? I think there's probably truth to it. I don't know to what extent or how or whatever, but I do feel like there's truth to those things. And it's part of the great, like, erasure, right? Like, they want us to get further and further away from who we really are, and from being in tune with our soul, and listening to, you know, as I'm sitting here talking, like, I'm kind of getting this kind of feeling or thought that the soul is the intuition. You know what I mean? That the intuition comes from the soul, you know. And so, you know, who does it benefit to get you fractured? Who does it benefit for you to lose pieces of yourself and forget who you are? Who does it benefit? You know, and as much as I want to sit here and I want to, you know, get on my little soapbox about, well, I'm no contact because you don't even know my story, and I'm going to do what I want to do regardless of what you think and feel, there's a greater purpose, you know. And I don't always want to harp on my bad relationship with my parents and, you know, talk about that a lot. Like, I know I have, and I know it's probably always going to be like a recurring theme, but that's not even what I want the focus and purpose to be. I want the focus and purpose to be about growing, healing, expanding, evolving, and elevating the overall consciousness, you know, the collective. So, with that said, if you can't stand nobody fuck else today, whatever, bro. If you can't stand nobody fuck else today, don't ride my ass, and you won't be surprised if I forget to use my blinker. If you can't stand nobody fuck else today, please stand yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be loving to yourself. Let yourself off the hook. It's okay if your soul made a contract that makes no sense to you. Your soul kind of knew what it was doing when it made the agreements, but it did not understand how it would affect the vessel. Once the two of you melded together during birth, or probably before birth, I would imagine the soul has incarnated into the womb before birth, I would imagine. I'm guessing, I'm speculating, I don't know, and I don't think anybody ever really would know. So, anyway, take care, be kind.